Welcome to another episode of The Cynical Writer. Today I want to talk about something very close to my heart. Over the years, I've discovered that only you and you alone care about your writing. No one else really does. Over the years I've tried to get my family to read my writing, but it takes them forever to get around to doing it. Especially if it's longer than a short story. So my family actually hasn't read a lot of my writing. And I've also tried to get people on the internet to read my writing, but of course that can be very difficult, especially if they have to pay for it. If they have to pay for it, virtually no one will read my writing. Even if people like a lot of my writing when they read it for free, a lot of them will not pay for it. And I think that's because as a society, we don't really value art very much. It's amazing to me that some people will spend, $100 on a meal that they will poop out basically later that night, but they won't spend, $5 or $10 on a book. What does that really say about the state of our society? We are living in a pretty sad place, if you ask me. And the thing is that a lot of people will say that they will buy my books, or that they will help promote my books, but they rarely actually follow through on their promises. When someone says something to me, I just take it with a grain of salt. Until I actually see the numbers go up on my sales sheet, then you're just talk to me. You're all talk. You don't follow through on your promises. You don't take action. And I think a lot of times people don't do it to be mean. I think that they're sincere, perhaps, when they say they're going to do it. But I think that people have a lot of priorities, and they ultimately forget. I think people don't know how to prioritize things. And as a society, we'll often say things because they feel good, but we don't actually intend on making good on our promises, as long as what we say feels good. That's all that matters to us, I think, in a lot of cases. And that's very sad. Now, of course, as a writer, I care about my writing more than everyone else. That's natural. But it's hard not to get jealous and bitter, because sometimes I'll see writers who don't really put a lot of effort into their writing get a lot of attention, and attention that I don't think they deserve. And that's very unfortunate, because I don't need to be so bitter. I need to only focus on my craft and ignore everything else. But it's hard to do that sometimes. It really is. And it's just a fact of life that most people don't care about you. And not just about your writing. They don't care about you as a person. We live in a society where people are wrapped up in their own little bubbles, in their own social circles, and they don't really give a damn about anybody else. Pardon my language, I don't usually curse, but in this case, I feel that it is necessary to do so. Because I think one of the problems is that most people, they might care about their family, or maybe a handful of close friends. But even that is becoming rarer. It really is. In the society that we live in, we only care about ourselves and just a handful of other people, and to hell, basically, with everybody else. And that's why I think we are seeing such a lack of empathy in our society. For everybody, for all kinds of different people, we are seeing a lack of empathy. And this goes far beyond not just appreciating writing. I think that as a society now, we do what feels good, we do what will make us look good, and we don't really care about anyone else. I think we are starting to basically worship ourselves. And I think for a lot of people, they react to the things around them. They react to the events, to the people that they talk to, but they don't really think about anything beyond that. It's all about, what's happening in the moment. They don't think about the future. They don't think about the past. To be perfectly honest, I don't think they think about anything. And I hate to sound so pessimistic, but this this show is called The Cynical Writer, so I am going to sound pessimistic a lot of the time. And I don't mean to say that there aren't any good people out there, because there are good people, but they're few and far between, and God knows I have a lot of flaws within myself. God knows I can ignore people sometimes, that I can be neglectful, but at least I realize that. A lot of people, they don't realize that. I do think that if someone else is willing to admit to their mistakes, that they are, at least in terms of character, not necessarily in terms of works, but in terms of character, they are better than those who aren't willing to admit to their mistakes. And once again, this goes far beyond writing. This problem stems basically to every area in life. And that's very tragic. And I don't know if as a society we're going to get better, if we are going to learn from our mistakes. I mean, I would like to think that in the future we will go back to a time where people appreciated one another, when people loved one another. And that's not to say that in the past everything was perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. No society has been perfect. But I do think that back in the 40s and 50s and early to mid-60s, that we were better as a nation. That people took care of one another. That's not to say that people did it perfectly. There was still quite a lot of poverty, quite a lot of neglect, but people cared more than they do now. Communities were more attached. And I think that as time goes on, people become more and more detached. And I think that people are losing appreciation for so many things. People don't appreciate writing anymore. They don't appreciate art. They don't appreciate nature. And people are becoming less than human, I think. When you stop appreciating art, when you stop appreciating, God's creation, you become less than human. You become a pod person, in a sense, from the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I mean, that movie, it's a very insightful movie. It says a lot about humankind, about human nature. And I think that we tend to appreciate the things that we can get our hands on, things that seem immediate. For example, one of the reasons why people enjoy high-powered, fast-paced action movies is because they are immediate. They thrill your senses, but they don't stimulate your mind. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad to enjoy action movies or books that are shallow on the surface or anything like that. But to only enjoy those things, to not think about the deeper things in life, that is a terrible, terrible mistake. And I honestly don't know if things would get better. I would like to think that they would get better, but I don't know that. The future is very uncertain, and I don't think anyone has an answer. Hopefully, one day, mankind will realize that the deeper things in life matter far more than the surface level things. The surface level things are important, but they're only there to serve the larger aspects of ourselves. They're there to provide escapism. But the whole point of escapism is that there is a place where you normally are. The reason you need to escape is because there is a place that you normally go to. There's a place that you are normally surrounded by. But if you're always trying to escape, then where you escape to, that becomes your new reality. And I think we're ultimately creating a new reality for ourselves. And we've become imprisoned by it, in a sense. We're in jail, basically. We're in jail. And I don't know if people are going to get out of that. It doesn't seem like they will. So I know it's a very pessimistic note to end on, and even though this show is called The Cynical Writer, I hope that I will could provide at least some optimism. But at least there are a few people out there who appreciate the finer things in life. They do exist. They're just few and far between. So next week I will return with a different topic, and until then, goodbye.